Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another NHL offseason video. And in this video, first of all, my name is Noah Diber. And in this video, I will be discussing some of the biggest re-signings of the NHL offseason so far. Not guys, that are moving to different teams as free agents, but guys that have signed massive contract extensions to remain with their current teams. And there are three in particular that I want to get into and discuss. But before I get into that, real quick, just give a quick shout out to all our social media, mainly our YouTube channel at Review and Preview Sports. We also have other ones that I will put down on the ticker here real quick, stuff like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. But the first major re-signing I do want to discuss is the Mikhail Sergachev re-signing by the Tampa Bay Lightning. And he actually got I'll put it up real quick, 8 year, $68 million contract extension, which rounds out to an $8.5 million average annual value to stay with the Lightning. He will make $4.8 million next season before the extension takes effect in 2023-2024. And I've already gone over the Tampa Bay Lightning's cap situation, but to summarize, they're around $7 million in the hole right now. They do not have a lot of room. But to bring back a guy like Mikhail Sergachev, who's still very young, as you can see here, he just turned 24. He was a big part of both Cup wins. He's still very young, and he can develop. He was also an RFA, so to get him re-signed to a long-term contract that extends him well into his free agent years, I think was a good move. I mean, by the time his extension runs out, he's already got a year this year and an eight-year extension. So what? He'll only be 33. I mean, defensemen can still play at a very high level into their mid-30s if they're good enough. And I definitely think Sergachev is a very good player. If you look at his career stats, 174 points, 362 games played, 36 goals, 130 assists for a plus 50. Last year, he had 38 points in 78 games played, 7 goals, 31 assists, a plus 6, 6.1 puck shares, a game-winning goal, and he's a minute killer. I mean, this year you can see he averaged time on ice 22 and a half minutes for his career. He's averaging 19 and a half. He's always been a big part of their team, and things I love about this guy, number one, he blocks a ton of shots, 123 blocks you can see in this column right here last season, and other seasons, he's nearing 100, 73 here, 64 here. The guy gets away in the ton of shots, which really helps out your goaltender if he doesn't have to worry about any extra shot attempts and he can get in the way. He's also pretty durable. 3 straight years, or 4 out of 5 years where he's played the majority of the season, where he has more than 70-plus games played. The year where he had 56, that was the COVID-shortened year, so doesn't really count as much. But a very durable player as well. He blocks shots. He hits pretty well. He had 139 hits last year. He takes the puck away at a decent margin, 23 takeaways to 39 giveaways, which for a defenseman actually isn't really bad because, like I mentioned in a previous video by Crystal Tang, they turn the puck over a lot because they're responsible. They have the majority responsibility for clearing the puck out of the zone most of the time. So to not turn it over at a ridiculous rate is actually a pretty good rate for him. He does take a decent amount of penalties, 59 penalty minutes last year, but the good stuff he does definitely outweighs that. Pretty good shooting the puck as well. Like I said, he does have 36 career goals. He's never going to, score 50 and 20 like the top guys can, but if he can, score around 10 goals a game, 10 goals a season, excuse me, not per game, he does a great job. But he's definitely a defensive first guy. If you look at his defensive puck shares here, you can see out of these 5 seasons, let me just get rid of that real quick. That's not what I meant to do. But if you look at these categories here, offensive point shares, defensive point shares, you'll see out of the 5 years that he's got more than 4 games played, only one of those years has he had more offensive puck shares than defensive puck shares. That was his first year in Tampa Bay back in 2017, 2018. Ever since then, every year, I mean, consistently 0.8 above, 0.9 above, 0.9. Last year, 1.7 above. So this is a guy that's definitely defensive first, very sound defensively, but he can chip in offensively well. I think any offense he puts is a bonus. And like I said, very durable. Look at these playoff, game logs. 25 games played the first year and 23 the last 2 years, which led the playoffs. So, he's on a team that can go deep, and he's very durable as well. He's always available. And plus 11 the last 3 years in the playoffs as well. Like I said, 10 points here, 3 the year after, 10 this year. He's not a big point guy. What he does best is defensively, and To me, I think that's the most important part of being a defenseman. I mean, it's literally in your name, defense. You have to play it. That's what I don't like about with Tang. I think he's great offensively. He's not very good defensively. And I think Sergachev is kind of the opposite, to where any offense he puts in is just a bonus. So, absolutely love that re signing for the Tampa Bay Lightning. They needed to do it, especially with what little cap space they did have. So, I thought that was a very good move. Another good move, I thought, that was another RFA re-signing, was Robert Thomas by the St. Louis Blues. He got a 8-year, $65 million contract extension, which rounds out to an 8.125 average annual value. He will make 2.8 million this year before the extension takes place in 2023. 2024. Now, if I put his stats up real quick as well, Robert Thomas is just a beast. I mean, he emerged this year as an absolute superstar for the St. Louis Blues. He was on the Cup team. He didn't have a major role on that Cup team. If you look, that was 2018, 2019. He was still finding his form, 33 points in 70 games played, -2. And if you look at his playoff stats real quick that year, 6 points, 21 games played. So definitely was still, very raw. He's only 23 years old as it is, signing that massive extension. It'll take him until he's 32, if my math is right there. But he emerged this year. Before this season, he wasn't producing at a very high level. 42 points his second year. It's an upgrade. He had 12 points, 33 games in the COVID season. But last season, a big breakout here, 77 points in 72 games played. That's just an absolutely incredible season for Robert Thomas. Big step up in point production for him. And what I absolutely love about Robert Thomas, I like him defensively. He's not fantastic faceoff wise. I mean, 47% isn't the worst I've ever seen. It's way higher than Malkin, and Malkin, has had a fantastic career, but he's a decent faceoff guy. But what I love is he takes the puck away. 60 takeaways last year compared to 50 giveaways for his career. He has 152 takeaways compared to 128 giveaways. Very solid at stealing the puck. He's a fantastic passer, 57 assists last year. So he's great at stealing the puck, getting it into transition and making moves for his team. 15 even strength goals. He's also, he's also a time on ice eater. He had almost 19 minutes average time on ice last year. But the things I love about Robert Thomas, he's finally found that scoring touch, and I think he's always been pretty good on the defensive side. If you look at his defensive puck shares, you'll see he had 1.9 last year, which is very solid. I mean, Bergeron, who's probably the best defensive center in the league, he had like 2.6, 2.7 last year. So very solid, to have that many defensive puck shares. And now he's adding in the offense as well. I think Robert Thomas is a phenomenal player. If he can just improve his faceoffs a little bit, he's only going to get better. Like I said, he is still only 23 years old. So the sky is the absolute limit for Robert Thomas, I think. And another player that I really love as well that just recently re-signed, not as an RFA, actually. This one's a little differently. He did test free agency, but he did get a contract from his old team. That is Josh Norris, who signed an 8-year, $63 million contract to remain with the Ottawa Senators. Like I said, Norris was actually a UFA compared to Sergachev and Thomas, who were RFAs. But Norris is kind of another guy, kind of like Thomas. He absolutely emerged big time this season. I'm going to put up his stats as well. And he's a little bit different from Thomas, whereas while he's still a center, Norris's big thing is he is a phenomenal goal scorer, whereas Thomas is more of a playmaker. If we look here, 35 goals last year and only 66 games played for Josh Norris. So if he played all 82 games, he probably would have been a 40, 45 goal scorer. The guy has an absolute talent for shooting the puck. He's also very efficient when he shoots the puck. If you look at his shooting percentage, 17.7% last season, the season before last, and then last season, 20.3%. A phenomenal scoring rate. Like I said in another video, I think if you're shooting at a 15% mark, you're very efficient. You're doing a fantastic job. To shoot at almost a 19% career rate for Josh Norris here is just absolutely remarkable. Fantastic sniper. Hasn't been on very good teams, so, don't pay too much mind to the plus minuses. But, 55 points in 66 games last year. And like I said, his main thing is goal scoring. I think if he stays healthy this year, he could crack 40 goals. He could get something like 75 points. And like I mentioned, in previous videos when I was talking about Claude Giroux, the Senators have made big upgrades to their forward core. I mean, it's not just Norris that has to produce. They still have Tim Stützle, the former number 3 overall pick. Drake Batherson was point per game roughly last year before he got injured. They still have Brady Tkachuk. They brought in Claude Giroux. Um, they have even other guys that are slipping my mind right now. I mean, they just have a lot of talent on that team. Shane Pinto's a big prospect for them as well. So I think, like I said with the Senators before, if they can just improve their defense and goaltending, the forwards are there. They just recently traded for Alex DeBrincat as well from the Blackhawks when they gave out their number 7 overall pick. A lot of talent on that team in that forward core, to produce a lot of goals. If they can just keep the puck out of the net, I've said in the past that the problem the Senators have is can they defend? Because I think they'll definitely be one of the top goal scoring teams in the league this year, unless they absolutely massively underachieve. But with this guy leading the way, if he can score 40 goals at least, that'll be a big boost to their offense. Even though I don't think the team will be very competitive this year, just because that division is so stacked. I mean, Florida's still there. They're going to fall off very soon, I think, because they're in cap hell, 2 or 3 years down the line. I think that team will look completely different. Toronto and Tampa Bay are still there. I think Boston will still be competitive. Maybe not, contending for a cup anymore, but they'll still probably make the playoffs. So I don't think the Senators will make the playoffs, but what I do think they will do is I think they'll be a very exciting team for their fans to watch. I think they'll score a lot of goals, and I think that, the Senators fans that have been through so much misery will see, okay, maybe the team isn't good record-wise now, but, the potential is there. The rebuild is there. You can see the progress that's being made with that team. If Jake Sanderson, their big defensive prospect, comes up in a few years, they also have a guy named Jacob Bernard Docker, who's another prospect defenseman I like for them. Keep an eye on the Senators. They did trade Matt Murray as well. He had a terrible contract. They got rid of him, traded him to the Maple Leafs. So I love what the Senators doing. Good re-signings as well by the Tampa Bay Lightning with Mikhail Sergachev, and the Blues with Robert Thomas, 2 fantastic young players to sign them as their unrestricted free agents to long-term extensions to their early 30s, so you don't have to worry about losing them to free agency. Love all 3 of these re-signings by these teams. But, like I said, a bit of a different video in this one, talking about players re-signing with teams instead of, free agent moves. Real quick before I get off here, I do just want to once again put up the ticker for our social media. If you want to check out, any of other stuff on, platforms like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Anchor is also where our podcast is. They're all Review and Preview is also on TikTok at Review and Preview. So until the next NHL offseason video, I think we're wrapping up very soon. There's only a few more topics I want to discuss. From myself, Noah Dibler, and all the crew at Review and Preview, thank you very, very much for watching yet another NHL offseason video, and I'll be back very soon with more content.